This PowerPoint highlights key aspects from Chapter 2, UML 2.0 in Action. This Chapter 2 is entitled Basic Principles and Background. And I'd just like to note that the authors introduce a really great example that they will use throughout the book. So take the time to read the example and look at the diagrams and the things that they write regarding the example. It's called the UML Airport, and it provides a very good, solid, easy to understand example to highlight the key concepts. So, why do we need models in systems analysis and design and in integration? Well, models serve three primary purposes: that of communication, visualization, and verification. Let's talk about communication. Gathering requirements is a process of communication. As you know, in the Hominid Project, you interview people, you ask questions, you gather requirements, but then you have to record those. Besides writing up long text, we have models. Models are easy to visualize what somebody does, and so that aids in the process of communication. We use models to capture and represent the requirements, and then we use the models to go back to the users or to other analysts to verify what we've captured. So this upfront stage is really important: gathering requirements, modeling them, using them to communicate with project stakeholders, including users, makes it very efficient. Figure 2.4 on page 16 depicts the process of analysis, and which consists of obtaining facts, representing those facts, and verifying the facts. So this is what we will focus on in the Hominid Project, is really the process of analysis, which, as we know in the UML process methodology, spans the inception phases and the elaboration phases. What is meant by the concept of diagrams as views? Well, as you know, UML has a variety of diagrams, and each diagram corresponds to one view of a model of a system. So when we put all the diagrams together, we get a very full picture of the system. Different aspects are emphasized or omitted depending on the diagram that we're dealing with. And UML diagrams are, most of them are graphs. Use cases aren't graphs, but use case descriptions, that is. But most UML diagrams are graphs. They consist of elements connected by lines. And to read the diagrams, you must know what types of elements and lines are allowed and what they mean. And as we go through developing different diagrams, you'll learn how to read them. They're not hard to read once you understand, which is what makes them a really great communication tool. There's a distinction between the terms information system and IT system. You may think this is splitting hairs, but let's just make that distinction now. An information system manages information needed to operate a business. An information system can be a completely manual system. It does not have to have any computerized technology in it. And so we look at the flow of information in a organization. It could be completely manual. People walking around with papers and delivering them to other people. Of course, that's not the case typically in this day and age, but it could be. An IT system is a computer-based system, and it provides information needed for the execution of certain business processes. And there's a nice little diagram, figure 2.8 on page 20, that highlights these concepts. Let's distinguish between these terms. Modeling business systems describes the business surrounding the IT system, and it deals with business processes. So as we begin the Hominid project, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at modeling the business systems. After we get the business systems modeled, we look at modeling the IT systems, and these are the systems that support the business model. Then we can talk about modeling for system integration, and this describes the integration into the environment, especially gateways to other systems, both within and without, both within and outside an organization. So modeling business systems is covered in Chapter 3, which we'll look at next in the UML text. Modeling IT systems is taken up in Chapter 4, and modeling for system integration is looked at in Chapter 5. When we talk about specifying requirements or creating a requirement specification, we take the requirements that we've gathered during the process of requirements determination, and we represent those requirements. That is, we specify what those requirements are via the models. So in this book makes a distinction between determining requirements and specifying requirements, and that's not unusual. So I just want to be clear, when we specify the requirements, we have already gathered them and we are representing those requirements. So we are specifying what they are. In this case, we are specifying the requirements through the UML models. We can specify requirements at various levels of detail. Requirements can be very detailed or they can be at a higher level. And when you are determining the level of detail to use to represent those requirements in order to specify them, you have to consider who you are specifying the models for and what is being specified. And so table 2.6.1 on page 25 gives you an idea of the models in terms of the business systems and the IT system and the integration system and the view and who is specifying and for whom it is being specified and what models you might use.